This is a crowd surge filmed at Notting Hill Carnival last summer. You can see people in this video who don't have control over their own bodies, instead being swept along with the crowd.
It was along this road.
BBC journalist Andre was partying there at the time.
We couldn't move, we couldn't get out. There were people having panic attacks. It felt like, if you dropped, you weren't going to get back up.
Nicole was also in the surge. She says she was suddenly surrounded and suffocated, like being caught in a tidal wave. Moments later, Andre and Nicole got out unharmed.
I managed to get into the stairway of a basement flat. Luckily, we managed to get to that bit of space.
But we've recently been reminded of just how dangerous out-of-control crowds can become. Around the world, we've recently seen a number of injuries and deaths in crushes at other big events, which happens when people are pressed on all sides until they can't breathe or are trampled. So what can you do if a crowd becomes too busy? Here are 3 key pieces of advice from safety experts. First, recognise overcrowded areas. Let's take another look at this video from Carnival. In places, you can only see people's heads, but not their chests. That's a useful sign that the space might be too busy. Second, prepare an exit plan. Calmly look for ways to a quieter area and signal to authorities that you need help. Third, go with the flow. It's usually safer to move with a group than against it until finding a way out. Don't push forward or pick anything up that you drop, as this increases the pressure and risks getting trampled. So why are we recently hearing more about crowding incidents? Let's hear from some of the world's leading crowd safety experts.
COVID happened. Crowds coming back in larger numbers than before. In enthusiastic, hey, it's great to be back at events again. A lack of skills within the industry, and no formal regulation in terms of events have to have a particular specification. And of course, safety doesn't make any money. So you're starting to say, we're seeing an increase on large events and incidents.
One of the reasons we've seen so many more incidents, people's behaviour has changed. Security guards and stewards are having far more difficulties.
Let's recall the Euro 2020 football final. It was labelled a near miss from fatal disaster after thousands of ticketless fans tried storming into Wembley Stadium. London's New Year's Eve fireworks became another example of people pushing past barriers to get in. Police are now urging people not to attend ticketed venues without a booking. Using legitimate ticket platforms is also a good idea to avoid buying fake tickets. And there's evidence suggesting a lack of experienced event workers, after many security staff recently quit their jobs. Maybe it also comes down to guidance and regulation. Questions are being asked about whether crowd safety training should be mandatory for event organisers. The Met Police had described Carnival as being largely positive and told BBC News that crowd management is a matter for the event organisers. The Notting Hill Carnival organiser says this was an isolated incident and there's usually plenty of space.
We've been doing a lot of work over the last few months, kind of focusing on, with our partners in Carnival, how we can make it easy for people to move around the route, opening up certain areas. In addition to that, we've got in excess of 500 more stewards, and we'll particularly be looking at the areas where we did experience increased numbers last year.
Events run smoothly most of the time, but bearing this in mind might be important if you end up somewhere feeling unsafe.